Somewhere, on camera, caught by accident, those rules broke. Just for a moment, just long enough for someone to notice. Tonight, on Phantom Detective, we're going to show you 5 moments where reality itself seemed to glitch, where the footage doesn't lie, but nobody can explain what it shows. A memory that millions share, but that never happened. A piece of fruit that repaired itself in front of a camera. A sky that tore open. A man who vanished chasing a machine that shouldn't exist. And one story about a woman who was seen in 2 places at the same time by dozens of witnesses who had no reason to lie. Stay until the end, because level 5 is the one that still keeps investigators up at night. Level 1, the memory that was never real. Let's start with something quiet, something almost invisible, because it's not a glitch in a video. It's a glitch in your own mind. Ask anyone alive what the evil queen says to her mirror in Disney's Snow White. They'll all give you the same answer, without hesitation.
Mirror, mirror on the wall, who is the fairest of them all?
There's just one problem. She never says that. Not once. Not in any print, any release, any version of the film that has ever existed. What she actually says is magic mirror on the wall. Watch it yourself. It's always been that way. And yet, somehow, an entire planet remembers a sentence that was never spoken. This is the Mandela Effect, a shared false memory planted in the minds of millions with no clear origin. The phrase mirror, mirror traces back to the original Brothers Grimm fairy tale, not the movie at all, but somewhere along the way, through decades of parodies, jokes, and repetition, that phantom line burned itself into our collective memory and quietly erased the real one. When a 2025 remake finally used the correct original line, audiences panicked. They accused the studio of changing the script. Nothing was changed. The film never moved. We did. Level 2, the fruit that refused to stay cut. In 2022, in a quiet restaurant kitchen in Arizona, a worker named Jay pulled up the overnight security footage. Routine, nothing unusual, until it wasn't. The tape shows her slicing a lemon, clean cut, blade all the way through. The pieces fall apart on the board exactly as they should. She turns away for a few seconds, just long enough to grab a bag. When she turns back, one half of the lemon is sitting there, whole, uncut, like it had never been touched by a blade in its life. She doesn't believe it. She picks it up, cuts it again, on camera, in front of a co-worker. She calls over specifically to witness it. Neither of them can explain what they're looking at. The clip goes online. Within days, nearly 3 million views. People scrub through the footage frame by frame, hunting for a splice, a cut, an edit. They never find one, because there isn't one. The official explanation is almost disappointingly simple. The blade never fully broke through the tough base of the rind on the first pass. Beat for a few days before anyone figured that out. Millions of strangers were lying awake, wondering if reality had just reset itself over a piece of fruit. Level 3, the wound in the sky. December 9, 2009. Norway, before sunrise, the sky opens. Not clouds, not lightning. A massive, glowing blue spiral, expanding slowly across the pre-dawn darkness, with a beam of white light firing out from its exact center, like something reaching through from the other side. It doesn't flicker. It doesn't fade quickly. It just hangs there for minutes, watched by thousands of people across northern Norway and Sweden, all at once, all wide awake, all terrified. Phone lines at the National Weather Institute overload. Within hours, the footage is everywhere, and the theories start multiplying. A portal, a weapon, a rift between worlds. Even scientists are stunned into silence at first. The shape is too perfect. too symmetrical, too deliberate to be an accident of nature. Then, the next day, Russia's Ministry of Defense breaks the silence with an admission nobody expected. A submarine-launched missile test had gone catastrophically wrong. A malfunction sent the rocket spinning out of control, venting its own exhaust into a perfect spiral, lit from below by a sun that hadn't even risen yet. A weapon, misfiring in the dark, mistaken by thousands of witnesses for a hole torn straight through the sky. Level 4. The man who built a machine that shouldn't exist. This next one isn't a legend. It's a recording, a real phone call to a real late-night radio show in 1995. A 21-year-old man from a small town in Missouri calls in and calmly claims something impossible, that he has built a time machine in his backyard using little more than scrap electrical parts and a laser salvaged from a CD player. He says he created a shimmering distortion in the air, that he threw a small screw into it and watched it disappear, only to reappear seconds later, further down his own workbench. He repeated it again and again. Consistent results, he claimed, every time. To build a version large enough for a human being, he needed more power. So he stole industrial transformers from a local substation, enough to black out 2 city blocks. That's what finally got him arrested. He served his time, came home, and immediately called the same radio show again, this time claiming he was only 30 days from testing the machine on himself. Then, silence. No warning, no goodbye. He simply vanished. No missing persons report was ever filed. His apartment was found completely empty. For 20 years, nothing. Then in 2015, a voice called into another late-night show, claiming to be him, saying his last experiment had thrown him 2 years into the future, that he'd come back with amnesia, that he had been quietly living off the grid, hiding ever since. No one has ever confirmed if it was really him, or if any of it was ever true. But somewhere, right now, that recording still exists, and someone is still listening to it, late at night, wondering. Level 5. The teacher who was seen in 2 places at once. And now the case that still unsettles people who study it. Over a century and a half later, the 1840s, an exclusive girls' boarding school in Latvia, a respected French teacher doing nothing more than her job, except she wasn't alone. Students began reporting a second version of her, identical, standing beside her during lessons, copying her movements in perfect, silent unison, writing on the chalkboard the instant she did, walking to the same spot, sitting at the same table. The real teacher had no idea it was even there, and every single time the double appeared, something happened to her. She grew pale, weak, utterly drained of energy, as if whatever was standing beside her was taking something from her, piece by piece, lesson after lesson. This wasn't one frightened student's imagination. This was dozens of witnesses over years at a respected, credible institution with a reputation on the line. It happened so often and so publicly that she was let go from 19 separate teaching positions over 16 years. Parents quietly pulling their daughters out, one family at a time. The case was documented in an 1860 book, built entirely on the direct, sworn testimony of students who were standing in that very classroom when it happened. No one has ever proven what that second woman was, or where she came from, or where she went each time she disappeared again. But when dozens of independent witnesses, years apart, in front of a room full of children, describe the exact same impossible thing, it stops sounding like a story. I'll throw 5 glitches, 5 moments where the footage was real, but the explanation never quite was. a memory shared by millions that never happened, a fruit that repaired itself on camera, a missile mistaken for a tear in the sky, a man who vanished chasing a machine that shouldn't work, and a teacher who may have had two bodies in one room at the same time. Which one is still sitting with you? Tell me in the comments. And if you want to keep digging with me, subscribe. Because Phantom Detective isn't done yet.